because I wanted to illustrate the idea that once that you have succeeded at living without attachment to things and to people, because you never know when you see the people that you close with again, then you learn to be detached. You learn to love them during that moment when they are present, when they are there with you. But we don't. Oh, I say we, but maybe I'm exaggerating here. But once that you've learned how to live without that attachment, you can go on. And one thing that I still apply in every day is that I'm not attached to things at all, so I can travel very, very light. I travel with a I travel with a carry-on really of usually about 8 kilos, even for 14 days of touring in Europe, and it was quite difficult when I had to go to Monaco for a prize there, because you need to have a big dress, and it was with the princess. C'était la princesse Caroline who was hosting it was a prize from the royal family, so you had to go there with high heels and a big dress, and so it was very heavy for me to put it in in the bag, but still I succeeded at doing it at 8.9 kilos that time, with the wheels and everything. Mais donc j'ai appris à vraiment ne pas être attachée, et je voulais illustrer cette idée-là et le pousser encore plus loin, c'est-à-dire que je vous donne un exemple. J'ai une cousine, et je lui ai parlé hier justement, qui avait son mari, elle était chirurgienne, et son mari aussi était chirurgien au Vietnam. Et quand les communistes sont arrivés, un matin comme ça, ils ont demandé à ce que tous les chirurgiens, les hommes, se rencontrent dans une école oui, pour une réunion, tout simplement. Mais finalement, it was not a meeting. They just took the whole bunch of them, put them in a van, and took them away to a re-education camp. And she had learned that from the people around that school, and they went to her house and said, your husband has been taken away. And then she just went from one village to the other, because there were not so many cars. So if you have a van going through the city, the village, everybody knew. So they could tell you, oh, the van went that way, and the van went the other way. And then so she could find the camp where he landed. But the way it worked, they wanted to semer la peur, to the whole population. So they moved the prisoners around, they moved the men around, and they didn't notify anybody. So she would go to one camp, and then that camp would send her to the other camp and to another camp. And she was from the south. And the last camp she went to was up north of Vietnam, and it took her 2 or 3 weeks to go up there. And she took her son with her because she was sure it was the last time that she would see him. Every single time that she saw him again and again, bringing him food, he got weaker and weaker and weaker. And that last time, she brought her son, a 6-year-old son, with her because she was sure that would be the end. That was the last time. And she went to that camp and waited the whole day, and they didn't want to tell her where he was, if he was in that camp or not. And so at the end of the day, she sat on the side of the road with another woman who was also waiting, and they didn't know what to do, if they should spend the night there on the side of the road or go back to a village where they could, find a place where to sleep. And then apparently there was a voice coming from the back saying, don't look back, but I will tell you, you lady in red, your husband has already left. So go home. He has been released. And to the other woman, the voice said that he's already dead. Stop looking for him. And so my cousin left, and she did find her husband at home weeks later. But the other woman, how do you trust the voice that whatever that was being said was right? And how could he tell that it was really her husband or not, and so on and so forth? And these women would live with, I would say, the memory of the husband or the presence of the husband without the physical presence, and they had learned to do that. Same thing with my uncle, who left Vietnam alone without my aunt because there was so much raping ongoing at sea. So he left on his own and hoping that he will arrive somewhere and then sponsor her after. And luckily she didn't go with him because he got stopped by pirates 7 times. So that meant that all the women on that boat got, I don't know how to say, raped 7 times, and at least. And so he could sponsor her only 10 years later to the U.S. At the beginning, there was no relationship between the U.S. and Vietnam. You could even make a call, a telephone call. So he would drive from Washington, D.C. up to Montreal, to our house, so that he could talk to his wife for 5 minutes. And she didn't have, well, they were not allowed to have a phone at home, so she had to apply for a 5-minute call at the post office with the police, so she could go there and then wait for his call for 5 minutes. So he would drive 12 hours up and 12 hours down just to talk to his wife for 5 minutes. So there's a certain sense of detachment. You need to have that kind of detachment in order to continue to live and to wait in a way, and to continue to, I don't know. So that's why I talked about that image of married men in this sense, that this woman, she would not be attached to the people she's with, so she can leave them very quickly. And the best way to not be attached to somebody is probably to be with a married man, because you know in advance that you don't have, there's no attachment.
There's no hope.
Yeah, so
no emotional baggage.
There you go. So I think it was more metaphoric than the real thing, because I've been married for 20 years, so I don't know what I was talking about actually. That was totally fiction, and